Now, with all the floorboards removed, I can finally get on to gauging level. And what I do here is I use this beam level, lay it across these joists to find out which ones are sitting too low or too high. Now, because I've already done half of the upstairs here, and this is assisted up joists, I know that this one has the level that I want. So I can go off of this. Anything that is below this joist needs to be sisted up. Anything that would stick up will have to be planed off. The two joists closest to where the camera is now are definitely sitting too low by as much as minimum 5 millimeters. Once I have this leveled, then I need to bring that measurement height into the other rooms, because that's the only way that I can think of doing it, and then bring them all up to the same height. Of course, that also tells me how many joists I need and how many I have to order. That really is the reason why I'm doing it like this. The other thing I'm doing right now is I'm also calculating the number of 240 by 60 centimeter OSB sheets. Of course, I could just go by the square meters, or I could go by these simple room measurements. The problem there is that the joints always have to meet on top of a joist, otherwise that joint is unsupported and could give. Now this is going to be my center line here. I already know that I need at least one more sheet to go there. That's one. This one here, I can already tell is a longer distance than 2.40 meters, because this is a 2 meter spirit level or beam level, and that's more than 40 centimeters. So I have 1, 2, 3. The distance between that wall and this is probably about 220. So that will take a full sheet each time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just eyeballing this. So that's only the landing, only the first layer. So just because these were relatively short and comparatively easy to do, I already brought up these 3 joists to the same height as my last reference joist. I also put in a 2x4 here along this one, so that the floorboards that I'm going to put in will be supported there and not be just hanging over a void. And now, since I know that those two are level and on the same level as my reference joist over there again, it's time to transfer that level into the big room, or what is supposed to be 2 rooms. So I have my 3 meter beam level here, and I've worked it off of that joist as well as this one, brought it over there, and then used one of those shims, a 4 millimeter one, to wedge it under there. And now this here quite clearly shows as level as it gets between the 2 bars. So the next step is to get these things out, or I might use the other side, get those tension struts out, bring that joist up to where it needs to be, so the same level as that yellow shim there, and then use that as a reference joist for the rest of this room. There's my measuring tape all the way over here, and that is pretty much 360 centimeters there where the masonry wall starts. So that's the standard length of the joists that I have, and that's good. So the only thing I need to make sure is that I cut off the top of the joist to make sure it's absolutely straight and there's no dips or bumps in there that could throw off my level measurements. Notch a bit out for the pipes here, and should be good to go. Yeah, so this piece has quite a bit of bow in it. The end there and over there is sticking out more than the middle. Like this is pretty much on the rubber, the end's down around. So I'm going to use this guide rail and the track saw to just straighten this particular joist up, so that I know it's going to be level all along the piece or down the entire length.
The old joists are crisscrossed with wires, and I really didn't want to have to thread them out and back in again, so I decided to notch around the wires. I stuck the new joist on top of the old one and then used a speed square to just mark where the cutouts would be. Then later drilled out the corners and made the cuts with a jigsaw.
And here's the setup, the new joist just clamped against the old one. The two quick clamps, I use them so that I can move the joist with some taps of a mallet. And looking at this bubble here, it's a little higher on this side, which is a problem because it's almost sitting flush there. And it's sticking out here, but that's because the old joist has a significant dip in the middle. Hopefully I should get a few taps out of this one to lower it enough and actually make that sit flush with my shim there. I've put down planks to make this less dangerous for my kids to walk across. But just to recap, from there to the new joists, that's level. The joists themselves are level. From these joists to that one, that's level. And that is level as well. So, should be the same level as the old one there. So now, I can start tidying this up and packing it out with insulation to get this area, because it's the landing to all the bedrooms, at least the first layer of OSB floorboards there, and restore this area for foot traffic. And they also have a reference joist for all of this room.
I honestly can't recall why I took this footage. I believe it's just to show off what the insulated joist centers look like with the sound dampening tape on top of the joists.
Right, and that's the landing covered, except for that small strip there with its awkward tapered shape that I still need to make a cutout for. But other than that, this is now decked in first layer of floorboards and therefore safe again for traversal. So on to the next task, which is to gauge off of this this joist here and see where the other joists are. And the first thing I can see is the straight edge is clearing my reference joist, because this guy here sits too high. What that means is I have to first bring this one down. Probably have to use a planer, whittle it down until that straight edge is once again resting on that joist. Now I'm just going to take a quick measurement close to the wall, so that I know that something that appears okay here may be either coming up or dipping down there. So I want to get that checked out. Then as well as this plank that I'm standing on currently, I'm going to have to move this in order to get the straight edge on here and also get a gauge of this area. So that's 2 to 3 centimeters of clearance there, and that really shouldn't be there. And I think the culprit is this guy here. It seems to be really out of whack, because in the middle it was pretty much on the same level as my reference joist, but down there this is sticking way up. Just to quickly illustrate just how out of whack this joist here is that is responsible for that elevation difference. So this is how far it's out. That bubble is actually already outside of the bars. So just to demonstrate, I've already made a mark there where the beam level that sits on all the other joists hits this one, and with the planer that I have there, that has a maximum of 2 millimeters of planing depth, and that's almost a centimeter, so it would be about 5 goes over 3.6 meters on 3 joists, and I think the other ones are even higher than this one, so that's not really a good option. So I'll have to think about trying something else.
Which turned out to be the somewhat unconventional idea of using a circular saw tilted by 90 degrees and running it on the flat side of the joist. So yeah, like I thought, I couldn't really keep the saw straight. So there's quite a bit of daylight now between the old joist there and the level. But that's fine, I'm just going to square off one of my sistering joists. And because there is no pipes or wires running there at the moment, I shouldn't even need to make too many adjustments to the actual joist. So that's a plus.
I had to revise my plan, which was to do all the joists in the entire section here first, then put down a first layer of flooring or floorboards, and then raise the separating wall again. I'm not doing that, simply because I want to get this room finished first. That one there can take a little longer. That leaves me time to develop a concept of what the bathrooms are going to be like. One slight issue that I have, of course, is without the floorboards, the separating wall here becomes a bit of a problem, because where the stud work used to be, there's no supporting structure. That cutout in the plasterboard there shows where the stud work used to be, and that was right above no man's land, somewhere between joists. So what I'm doing now is I'm making these 9x2 cutouts to fit in here. I'm going to screw those in with strong long screws every 40 centimeters, and then I'll place the stud work straight on top of this lumber here, and then just run the floorboards up to the stud work, because that way I can finish the flooring on this side or continue on the flooring this side, and can leave the bathroom for some other time in the future.
I also used a folding square to make sure that the new wall would be 90 degrees to the masonry wall. Now, with the timber supports for the new wall firmly in place, I put down some sound dampening tape, just 5mm closed cell foam tape, where the stud wall would be, just to minimize vibrations coming from the floor into the wall and the other way around. Again, sound dampening tape between the existing stud work and the new stud work, and then just went about screwing in the studs themselves. that's this part of the job done. The next parts won't be quite so easy, but I'll get to that in due time.